Good morning, my dear students. How are you? So I think you are fine. So near about we have completed our chapter number 7, and it is somewhat nearby to the portion of first term. So we have completed something to the first term syllabus. So this can be, you can say this as your first term syllabus. I will give one more chapter and your first term syllabus will be completed. So now what you have to do, you have to start preparing for the exams, for the upcoming exams whenever might it be there. So you need not to be free, as you have seen that already the periodic tests are conducted. But I want to see, though you have done good, though you have done well, but I want to see you more, getting more marks. So now today, just we will sum up this chapter number 7. Only 2 topics were left, very small topics are left, and just we will just sum up whole of the chapter today, and then we will see the question answer in the next class, that is on Tuesday. We will see our next question answers. Okay, next start. So this will see that what we have seen from the chapter first, in this chapter beginning onwards. So we have seen that in this world, in this whole world, there are 2 types of things. There are 2 types of things. The world is made up of 2 types of things. There are living things and non-living things. The world is made up of 2 types of things, that is living things and non-living things. So there are some different characteristics of each living and non-living things. So in this chapter we have seen all about the living things, and then we discussed what is the difference between living and non-living. So first, living things are made up of cells. So we have already seen that all the living things are made up of cells. What is a cell? Cell is the most smallest and stable functional unit of a living organism. What is a cell? Cell is the smallest functional unit of a living organism. All living organisms are made up of cell, and on the basis of cell there are 2 types of organism, unicellular and multicellular. What are unicellular organisms? Organisms that are made up of single cell are called unicellular organism. Organisms that are made up of single cell are called as unicellular organism. Like in the case of amoeba and euglena. Euglena and amoeba are made up of single cells, whereas the animals which are made up of more than one cell, or we can say many cells, thousands of cells, these are called as multicellular organism, like we human, birds, dogs, animals, all these come under the multicellular organism. Like characters, we have seen that living things respond to stimuli. What is the response? What is a stimuli? Stimuli means the change in the environment. Stimuli means the change in the environment. Suppose there is a change in the climate, suppose there is a change in the temperature. So these can be first to the change in the stimuli. And according to the stimulus, the animal change themselves, or the organism change themselves. Suppose in this autumn season, or we say in this winter season, the trees start to shed their leaves. The trees start to shed their leaves. So we can say then that the shedding of leaves can be referred to the change in the animals with the change in the environment. So what is the response? Change in the activities of the organism with reference to change in the environment. Change in the environment will be called as a stimulus, whereas change in the activities of an organism according to the change of the environment will be called as response. Next, we have seen living things grow. So this is a very common fact that we know, that all living things grow. All living things grow on the basis of their height, their health, their hairs, their nails. All the living things grow, but non-living things do not grow. Non-living things do not grow. Suppose if this is a duster, this is a non-living thing, it will remain same until we human will not act on it. So living things grow, but non-living things do not grow. Next we have seen living things excrete. What is the meaning of excrete, or what is the meaning of word excretion? So the excretion is the process through which animal or organism get rid out of their waste. Suppose what we eat or the water we drink, we take this water in the form of urine or in the form of sweat. Okay, so these can be said as the waste material, removal of the waste material. So all living things remove the waste material out of their body. So So the process through which the living organism removes the waste material out of the body is known as excretion. And all the living things excrete, and all the living things excrete. Now you will ask, sir, plants, how plants excrete? Plants also excrete. Sometimes you will see a gum-like structure come out of the plant. A gum-like structure come out of the plant. A gum-like structure come out of the plant. So this gum-like structure will be called as excretion in plant. This gum-like structure is called the excreta of plant, and then this way the plant excrete. Okay. Next we have seen living things respire. So what is the process respiration called? Respiration is a process through which food is broken down into simpler forms with the help of oxygen to get energy. The process through which food is broken down into simpler forms to get energy with the help of oxygen is known as respiration. So all living things require energy. And how do they get energy? They get energy from the food. So all living things respire. All living things need energy. And how do they get energy? They get energy from their food. The food we eat is broken down into simpler forms with the help of oxygen, and the process is known as respiration. Do not consider breathing as respiration. Breathing and respiration are two different processes. What is a breathing? Inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide. That is taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide is known as respiration. Whereas what is known as breathing. Taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide is known as breathing. Sorry, I was a little confused. Taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide is known as breathing. Taking in oxygen and releasing out carbon dioxide is known as breathing, whereas the process of breaking down food into simpler forms to get energy with the help of oxygen is known as respiration. So these are the two different processes. Okay, so all living things respire, whereas non-living things do not respire. Next process comes living things reproduce. What is the meaning of reproduce? Reproduce means to produce new young ones. Reproduce means to produce young ones. They are of their own kind. Suppose we animals give the birth to the young ones, their own young ones of the similar kind. So the process through which the animal give birth to their young ones is known as reproduction. So all the living things reproduce, whereas the non-living things do not reproduce. Okay. Next. Living things need food, so all the living things need food, whereas why do the living things need food? Living things need food in order to get energy for work, whereas non-living things do not need food. They do not need food. Okay. Next, living things have a definite lifespan. That is, living things have a certain age. That is, we are alive for a certain period of time. After that, we will die. So all living things have a certain life period. But non-living things do not have their life period. They can continue for millions of years. Okay. Next, the word comes ecosystem. So the ecosystem is defined as the complex system that consists of the physical environment as well as this living environment and their interaction among them. What is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is a complex system that shows the interaction between the living and the physical environment and their interdependence. So or in simple word we can say the interdependence of the living and the physical environment will be called as a ecosystem. The system which consists of the living environment and physical environment and their interaction with each other is called as a ecosystem. So everything that surrounds us is called an environment. Very simple definition is this. We are learning from the primary classes. Everything that surrounds us is called an environment. Now ecosystem consists of two components, biotic and abiotic. Living things this ecosystem consists of two components, biotic and abiotic. Biotic means all the living component of the earth. All the living component of the environment comes under the biotic, whereas all the non-living comes under the abiotic. Living things consist of humans, animal, bird, microorganism, whereas non-living thing consists of sun, moon, soil, rocks, mud. These all come under the non-living component of the environment. Okay, or we can say abiotic components. What are biotic? Biotic means living and abiotic means non-living. Next in the chapter we have seen the interaction between the biotic and abiotic components. So first we have seen about biotic to biotic, how biotic components are related with each other. So how does the plant help the how does the plant help the animals? So plant help the animal by providing them food, by providing them shelter to live, by providing them oxygen. What are the three main points we have seen? Oxygen, next is food, next is food in the form of fruit or grains. So food, fruit and shelter. Many organisms like monkey lives on the branches of the trees. Squirrels and some birds live under the holes of the trunks of the trees. So we can see them this as they provide them as a shelter. Even we humans first have made the houses with the help of the wood from the trees, and we used to make the hut and all with using the wood of the trees. Okay, next. How do the animals help the plants? Animals help the plant to multiply. Some birds like hummingbirds, they suck the nectar from the flower. When they suck, they used to carry the pollen grain. And these pollen grains are transferred from one flower to another. So first they help in the transfer of the pollens. Some animals like elephant or we human, we used to eat fruit, and that seed, the fruit we eat, they consist of seed, and the seed we eat is left by the animals. The seed is left by the animals through their droppings in some another place, and due to that droppings or that seed, the another plant grows. So they help, even the humans and elephant and other animals help the plant to multiply. Next, some animal like sheep, goat, they have long hairs. So seeds get stuck to their skin. And when the seeds go to the another place, these seeds fall, and through these seeds, the new plants grow. These seeds, new plant grow, and due to this new plant, we can say that the animals help the plant to multiply. Okay. Next, there is a recycling between nutrition of biotic and abiotic, between the biotic component. How the nutrition are shared between the biotic components. So first, biotic components, we are talking about the primary consumer. What are the primary consumers? Primary consumers are the organism which prepare their own food. So the only organism which prepare their own food is the green plant. Green plant are also called producers. So how do the green plant make their food? The green plant make their food with the help of the process called photosynthesis. What is a photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process through which green plant prepare their own food in the presence of chlorophyll, sunlight, with the help of oxygen and water. They prepare their own food. So the process is known as a photosynthesis. Next, we have seen the primary consumers. So who are called primary consumer? All the herbivorous animals come under the primary consumer. Example, cow, goat, sheep, they all come under the primary consumers. Next comes the secondary consumers. Only are called or also called omnivores, who eat the flesh of other animals or who are dependent on the animals for their other animals, like lion, tiger. All the carnivores come under the secondary consumers. Next come the tertiary consumers. So tertiary consumers eat both flesh and this plant product, like humans and Humans are the best example of tertiary consumer. Tertiary consumer are also called omnivores. Next comes the scavengers. Scavengers are the organism which feed on dead plants and animals. Scavengers are the animals which feed on dead plants and animals for their food. Next, decomposers. Example of scavengers. Example of scavengers are vultures and jackal. Vultures and jackal can be the given example of scavengers. Next come the decomposers. What are the decomposers? Decomposers are the organisms that feed on the decaying organic matter. These are called the decomposers. Decomposers feed on decaying organic matter. Examples of decomposers you can give microorganisms like fungi and bacteria. Okay. Next we were seeing interaction between the abiotic to biotic. Now previously we have seen the biotic to biotic. Now we have seen abiotic to biotic. How abiotic factors affect the biotic factors. First abiotic factor is light. So light is mostly necessary. First topic comes light. Light is mostly necessary for the green plant for the preparation of their food. So light is necessary for the photosynthesis. Secondary, light is necessary for many of the migratory birds for their migration. Without this light, these birds cannot move from one place to another because they need a light for their movement. Next comes the temperature. Temperature is what? Temperature is the measure of degree of hotness or coldness of a body. So temperature is a degree of measurement of hotness or coldness of a body. So temperature plays an important role, as temperature decides that which type of plant will grow in a which region. Like pine tree is only found out in the polar region. This pine tree is only found in the polar region. Whereas in hot and humid climate, which type of tree grow? In Africa it is tropical areas. The equator line passes through, so evergreen forests are grown in the tropical areas. Next come, there are two types of animal on the basis of temperature. Warm-blooded and cold-blooded. Warm-blooded animals, the animals which maintain their temperature are called warm-blooded animals. What are the warm-blooded animals? Warm-blooded animals are the animals which maintain their temperature are called warm-blooded animals. Examples you can give as humans. Humans maintain their temperature and they adjust according to the environment. Whereas what are cold-blooded animals? Cold-blooded animals whose temperature fluctuates with the change in the temperature of the environment. Cold-blooded animals are the animals whose temperature fluctuates with the change in the environment, like in the case of all the reptiles and fish. Many of the reptiles and fish, either they go under hibernation or they used to come out for taking the heat of the sun or to warm their body. Okay. Next, air is most necessary because air is needed, because in the form oxygen is needed by humans and all the organisms for respiration and for breathing, whereas carbon dioxide is required by the carbon dioxide and nitrogen is required by the plant for their preparation of food. This nitrogen is also required by the plant for their food. Next, water. All you know, or green. 2/3 of the human body is made up of the water. 2/3 of the human body is made up of the water. Why is water necessary? For carrying out many chemical reactions, for transportation of the nutrition, for removal of the waste, for maintaining the body temperature. So these are some of the uses of the water. Next, today we will see about soil. What is a soil? Soil is a mixture of minerals, rocks, mud, fossils. Soil is a mixture of many things. We can say soil is mainly a mixture of minerals. Soil consists of mainly many types of the minerals. So today's topic is soil. What is soil? Soil consists of types of minerals, rocks, mud, and many more. Fossils, we can say. Soil consists of many types of substances. Soil is mostly necessary because soil is a home for nearby each and every organism. Soil is a home for nearby each and every organism. All the plants grow from the soil. Plants also receive many nutrition from the soil. So plant grows in the soil, whereas many animals like earthworms, squirrels, snakes, they make their shelters under the soils. They make their shelters under the soil. So soil is very necessary for all the, even this farming is done in the soil. Farming is also, the food we eat, we also receive from the soil. So soil is very necessary for all the living organisms. For losing up the soil, whenever we see that after this rainy season, this land becomes hard. After a few times, or in the winter season, in the summer season, the land used to become hard due to this heat of the sun. So for loosening up the soil, what does the farmer do? For loosening the soil, farmer used to plough their field. Farmer used to plough their field for loosening the soil. Why the soil is loosened? Soil is used to be loosened because it creates a space through which air is easily passed under the soil, so that root can absorb the gases from the air. So soil is loosened for making a space in that, so that air can be absorbed by the roots also. Next, what are the other methods for loosening up the soil? First is ploughing. Second is leaving the snails in the earthworm. Earthworm and snails also play a very important role in loosening up the soil. So what is the necessity of the soil? The soil is very necessary for growing plants, for living, and for making these houses and all. Next comes the topic, last topic is habitat. So, what is the habitat? So, the area where organisms live in their nature. Next chapter, after one chapter, we will study about this in a very detailed manner. So, the place where an organism lives in its nature, or place where an organism lives naturally is called as its habitat. The place where organism lives naturally is called habitat. Like fishes used to live in water, they will be called as water habitat. Wild animals used to live in jungles or in forest, they will be called as forest habitat. So every organism has a certain area where it lives naturally, it will be called as its habitat. Okay, my dear students, so here a very short, here I have summed up this whole chapter. You go through this chapter. In my next class I am going to just provide you question answers and exercises, so you have to complete this exercises and question answers in your copy, and you have to study for the upcoming exams. Okay, so your homework is to learn and go through all of the chapter.